Welcome back, Barbarians. We're back with another episode with a new blue-collar barbarian for you. I got my buddy Brian Rigby, and this one, ladies and gentlemen, this episode is special because now we get to dive into a little bit of the trenches, get an inside look at, you guessed it, ironwork from the union's take again. Brian is the president of the local 732. Is that correct, Brian?
Correct.
Out of Montana and Idaho, and they're doing the Lord's work, raising bar and building bridges, infrastructure, just building America, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm super excited to get to talk to Brian. Brian, thank you so much for your time tonight, dude. This is going to be fun. I've been looking forward to it all day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So I've been an ironworker for almost 18 years now and got into it. I did my apprenticeship out of Spokane, Washington, out of Local 14. So they used to have the jurisdiction on Western Montana. So started that and went through as an apprentice, climbed through the ladders, through the ranks, became a journeyman, moved up into a foreman's capacity, general foreman, field superintendent. And then, working in that, I was like, all right, what's next on the radar? And I started looking at the apprenticeship and wanting to jump in there. So I became an instructor in 2015 and started teaching a couple of the apprenticeship classes. And from there it was, hey, let's change this. Let's do that. Let's keep up to date with the innovations, the technology, And next thing I knew, moved in as the training coordinator and president in one shot.
Wow. And that's incredible, dude. But I want to back up for a second and dig into a little bit of your background on what it was like coming up. You came up with one of our former guests, Kel, and you guys, well, let's just say Kel was known for being fast. He told me he used to tie a wire a day at home just to get his reps in. Were you one of those guys too that you just couldn't get enough of it? Because Kel tells me you guys were both got something missing in your head outside of bending over tying bar.
Yeah, nope. So Kel had actually got in just before I did, and he would be sitting on the couch with his pliers and just wire clippings, picking them up, grabbing them, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh man, I gotta be the fastest." And I was like, "What are you talking about? You gotta be the fastest?" "Oh yeah, tying bar. You wouldn't get it. You're not an iron worker." And I'm like, all right, man, cool, whatever. And, I was a bartender, server, casino attendant, and making great money, great tips. And then my girlfriend was like, hey, I'm pregnant. You're about to have a kid. What are you going to do? And I'm like, all right, it's time to buckle down and I got to find some benefits. And that was really the driver. And I'm talking to Kel, and, I've known him since high school. And he was like, dude, I've been doing this apprenticeship. I got a year under my belt, making killer money, working outside. And I'm like, man, I'd just be looking out the window. And I'm like, yeah, I got to get outside. I'm built to be outside, working in that inside thing. And I was like, all right, man, how do I get signed up? How do I do it? I don't know anything about apprenticeships. How does this even happen? Don't you got to know somebody? And he was like, yeah, me, call this dude tomorrow. And I was like, all right. So I hit up Tom Tanner in Missoula, local 14 business agent and organizer. He's like, oh, the Sandefers, huh? And I was like, yeah, Kelly said you guys are looking for some apprentices. What's up? And he's like, well, when can you be in Missoula? And I hung up the phone, 120 miles, showed up there about an hour later. And he was like, I just hung up with you. What are you doing? I was like, said, how fast can I get to Missoula? I'm here. Let's go. And he's like, all right, man, well, could you go to Spokane and pick up some tools and be to work on Monday? And I was like, are you serious? And he's like, if you seriously just dropped everything you were doing, drove 120 miles over here to come and talk to me, you're serious. He's like, so get to Spokane and pick up those tools and be back in Bozeman. And I was like, fuck, all right. Showed up in Spokane and there's like 60 dudes lined out the hall. And I'd never been to a union hall, didn't know anything. And I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on? And nobody really knows. They were like, I think we're here for an apprenticeship. And so we're just kind of hanging out for it felt like an eternity. And he's like, all right, I got someone here. We're going to take a drug test. And you pass your drug test, you can come back into the shop and we're going to get rolling. And I'm like, what in the heck is going on here? So I jumped through it, fill up the cup and roll into the shop. And I got some tools on and people are running around. And I'm like, what in the fuck is going on? I just came here to pick up tools, and I'm trying to get some answers. And everyone's like, hey, grab this rebar. Let's go. Get up on the structure. Let's go. And I'm just watching, 50, 60 people scrambling around. No one knows what's going on. We're just getting yelled at and we're grabbing bar and moving it. And I was like, hey, man, I need to get some tools. I got to be 7 hours the other direction. What is this? And they were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, man, Tom Tanner sent me over here. And they were like, oh, you're not here for Hell Day? And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, these interviews. This is what we're doing here is interviews and tryouts. And I'm like, no, man, I'm just here to get tools. I got a job. And they were like, oh, nobody told us that. So set me up with some tools, and into Bozeman I went. And first job was a rod job. And I'm like, all right, man. Kelly knew I was doing it. And he's like, we're going to come up to my house. We're going to practice tying rebar. And I was like, fuck, this is crazy. My hands hurt. Jumped into it. And next thing I know, it just kind of, you get in with rod busters, right? And it's a tight knit crew. Everybody's out there enjoying that misery, enjoying the battles of it. And you're working side by side with everybody, so the camaraderie is out of control. You're either going to make it or you're not going to make it. From there, it was standing our first column, working with cranes. And it's like, what is going on? This is crazy, 19-year-old kid just seeing this construction on some scale that you'd never thought you'd ever be exposed to.
Just thrown right into the wolves.
Yeah. So we just got in, started tossing it up, chopping it up. And, it's just paddling, legs going 100 miles an hour underwater. Don't know what I'm doing. Don't know anything. And we're just going, it was kind of crazy. So yeah, that's kind of where it started.
And so for you, how long did it take you from there? Working through the apprenticeship was obviously, you completed that obviously, right? How long did it take you to start running work?
So I ran my first job as a second-year apprentice.
So you and Kel both just...
Yeah. Yep. Jumped in, and my general foreman left me on a job and with the drawings, and he was like, hey, I'll be right back. And I stood there for like an hour, and the superintendent for the general comes out and he's like, hey, man, you guys going to get to start putting some barn or what? And I was like, oh, yeah, Roy will be back. And he's like, I ain't waiting for Roy. He's like, we got concrete coming. Get your ass down there. And I was like, well, I don't even know how to read these drawings. And he was like, well, you're right here. This is what needs to go in. And I'm like, fuck, all right. So jumped in and started after it. Showed back up the next day. No Roy, got the drawings, went busy. And 3 days later, my boss shows back up and he's like, this is all you got done? And I was like, man, are you kidding? Look at this. I just built that. And he was like, well, I guess you are just an apprentice. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? You just left me out here, tell me you'll be back, and 3 days later, so right there it was like, holy smokes. All right. I know I can get in this thing and do it. I can do the work. And the next experience I had running work was a little bit better. I was a third-year apprentice and got another opportunity. And it was like, all right, here we go. Game on. Doing some wing walls on a bridge. I got this.
Yeah.
And by that time, 3 years in, I was feeling pretty good, It's that fourth year of the apprenticeship where you know more than the instructor and you know more than most of the guys on the job with you. So It's just time to get in and show them what's up.
Yeah, but to be fair, though, right? Like, to be fair, a lot of the times those instructors, they kind of get a bad rap. From my experiences, a lot of those times, some of those guys are like guys that, not all, I'm saying this lightly, right? Not all, but a lot of the guys, at least when the time frame you were talking about when we were coming up, they were like the guys that we were told couldn't cut it in the field, right? Like kind of like your safety dude is like, oh, I used to be in the crane world. Like, oh, I was a crane operator. And you're like, okay, yeah, like one that nobody liked and wasn't efficient because now you're doing safety, right? Like that's kind of the attitude you have. So they did it to
don't
themselves.
Get me wrong. That was total facetious of knowing more. right? Yeah,
Sure.
because it's
No,
the
no.
clueless, yeah. And
Yeah.
you're right. It is. It's that instruction. You're like, oh man, this guy. If you don't know it, you teach it, and if
Yeah.
you can't teach it, you become the coordinator.
Yeah. Well,
So,
so, and like I said, I don't mean no disrespect to the guys that are currently doing it, because there's guys like Kel that are teaching right now that are just a wealth of knowledge. Guys like you that stepped up and are doing what you're doing, literally helping guys get involved that like came up and went through the process. But back, that's changed, and we'll get into this in a minute, but that's changed because of people like you stepping up into positions that are maybe a little bit more uncomfortable for other people. My 2 cents here, right? I'm not saying this is word of God, but like there was a little bit of that where you had these old timers that were just washed out, or it was either the washout guys or it was the guys that didn't want to work a bunch of hours anymore, that they didn't really care. And it was just, yeah, kid, here, now you know how to do this, but half of what they're saying is bullshit, at least from my experience. They could teach you enough to get you in the field, but they're not really invested in you. And that I think that's part of the culture. What I love to hear about, like stories about yours, right, is that's part of the culture that accountability needs to come into play. We need to change this. Like we need more guys like you and like Kel that maybe you don't want to come out of the field, but for the greater good of what you love and for the greater good of our brotherhood, our brothers, our sisters, this world, there needs to be guys that are talented that come out early before they're beat up, or even just with a sense of duty and honor, right? And come into these positions to actually start teaching these kids while it's fresh.
no, yeah, and that's it. And that's what pushed me into even moving into that instructor role was I'm running work and I'm getting videos of my apprentices while they're in class, and they go to the bar and come back after lunch and they're all fucked up, and a kid's passing out and he's getting tied down to the chair and they're not even using real knots.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? You guys are going to tie him up and there's not even a real knot. You just put a bunch of overhand granny knots on him. Come on, let's get something. So I'm like, all right. And I'm like, I'm going to go in the job shack, right? And that's where we're going to make all the changes after work, have a couple beers in the job shack. We're going to change the world.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to our business agent about it. And he's like, well, shut the fuck up or do something. And I'm like, all right, man, let's do it. Put me on the roster. Let's go. And then it was like, holy smokes, I need to do my homework. I've got to be able to facilitate this to these guys that don't have a clue. And now I'm starting to feel that intimidation, like, oh man, maybe I should have paid more attention when I was an apprentice. Fuck, I don't know this shit. So then there comes that, all right, maybe there's a little bit of a street cred coming back to these, folks that were doing it, to some and not to all, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously some, it's like, dude, you're going to allow these guys to go and get drunk at lunch and come back in and we're going to claim that we're putting on this phenomenal training. Get out of town. We want to sell this well-trained workforce. Let's make sure that we got a well-trained workforce that we're selling.
Yeah. No, and that's so important. But let's back up another step before we dive into that, because I want to spend quite a bit of time talking about like what that process looks like for our guests, because I think there's something to be said about real leadership in taking action, in doing something uncomfortable and jumping in. And I think there's a mastery level to teaching, right? Like that's the way you truly know something, in my opinion, is to be able to teach it. That will reinforce it in your brain. I mean, you don't even imagine the benefits to actually teaching, which is what's hilarious about these guys that are job scared in the field right now. Won't teach a guy because, oh, he might take my job. Like, well, then you're not that good. You know what I mean? Like, I want my guys to replace me personally. I want to know that everybody that I get that spends time with me is better than me, or could be better than me, or will be better than me, because that's the goal. We're supposed to be putting out that level of employee, that level of barbarian, if you will, for the sake of the show. Like you're supposed to be putting that person, that type of character into this field. I mean, this is the backbone of America being built by our hands, by our people. and we don't even take ourselves serious when we show up for work.
No, that's it. And I got my first apprentices, the first class that they're ever in, and I'm standing in front of them. We're breaking the ice. We're doing some intros, and I let them all know day one that I'm not in this capacity to grow old. I'm in here, and I want all of them to know that they need to be finding that person that's going to replace me. Because if no one's replacing me, then that means there isn't any changes happening. And right now, sure, complacency might not exist, but what's going to happen in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? We need to have someone that's going to be able to do my job better than the way I'm doing it. I'm not going to be out there with the, advances in the way the job's being done to, and hopefully I get enough training to where, I'm still being able to bring something to the table, but having that new blood and making sure that these capacities you don't have someone dying in the chair. And I want to make sure it's like day one apprentice, you're going to know my job is replaceable. I need someone to take it.
Yeah. No, that's incredible, dude. And like I said, and we'll cover this in depth, but I got a deep amount of respect for guys like you that are doing that. This will be new news to our audience by the time this show comes out. But I actually have an interview Friday with the training director. This is a out of left field move on my part, but I'm actually considering going to the hall and teaching myself now because one, I want the availability of schedule to do this podcast. I'm a city council member now as well. You want to talk about getting involved and trying to make changes. So I'm in the city council, and this will allow me to make sure that I can be available for that. But two, I have this deep sense of accountability when it comes to hey, what are you doing to contribute to what you don't like? What are you doing? And I want to put out people that have a standard of excellence in their mind. That's what I want. I want to see pride come back in, and not that, this is the barbarian shit, not the gay shit. I want to see pride of work, pride of character, like that knuckle buster. You're goddamn right I'm a crane hand. You're goddamn right I drag rigging around and I do this and I can put this crane up and I run 70 hours a week and I make 120 grand a year in my sleep. I want that pride in this field. And I think that it's important that you look at yourself and you say, okay, I'm going to have to lose on the long or on the short end to do this. It's going to cost me money, right? It's going to cost me the pride or the ego of being able to be at the sticks of a big crawler or a tower 300 feet in the air or some shit again. But for the betterment of what I think will, one, move my family forward, but two, maybe start to implement some change of culture. What am I going to talk about it like you're saying, or am I going to be about it? Right. And so it's funny because we're having this conversation today and you're the man in a different field, but that has done what I'm looking at. Right. So like I said, I've been excited about this conversation all day, but let's take a step back and go to you were a general foreman and a superintendent. I want to really hit that for a moment. Talk about what that experience was like, one, and then two, if you don't mind, talk about some things that kind of propelled you forward to be able to accelerate and make those progressions. Because I think a lot of guys get stuck in the wash. I've been doing this for 10 years now. What's next? Right? I'm just a hand or I'm just a that. And now in your career, you'll get to run a site just because you guys are spread thin, right? So there's going to be guys that are journeymen that are now site foremen or whatnot. But I want to talk about the senior leadership parts of this, like the general foreman running 4 or 5 jobs, or the superintendent. What was that like? What can guys do to get there? What would you suggest?
So, and every company is so different, but realistically, it's looking for that same realm, and I always like to break it down to finding the right people to put into that capacity. Sure. And the person, in more times than not, it's like, oh yeah, I'm ready to be the foreman, versus the guy that's like, I'm just going to show up and go to fucking work.
Yeah.
And I need to be able to do the work. I'm here for, whatever reason's driving me to show up every day, whether I got to put food on the table or I'm looking for that fat paycheck. And it seemed like I wasn't ever looking for that capacity. It was like, hey, you're showing up, we're recognizing what you're doing on a daily, from the monotonous tasks, right? I'm like, I don't care what I got to do. I've come to work. This is my wage. This is what I'm making, whether I'm in the shack rolling bolts or I've got that theodolite set up and I'm out shooting elevations across the job. And I just made sure that once I was going to be recognized in the industry as a journeyman, that I had the ability to do journeyman level work. And I didn't really have my sights set on anything. It was just to make sure that I could provide. I had a young family. I had to be at work. Didn't matter. So I didn't care if I was driving to Wyoming. I didn't care if I was driving to Tri-Cities, Washington. I was going to be at work wherever that was. And I think that that was the big driving factor to show up and make sure that I wanted to be the last guy to get laid off. And when my foremen are seeing that and they're like, hey, man, we want to put you in these leadership roles, going to put you out as a lead man, right? You're going to be running, here's the deck drawings. You know how to read the deck drawing? Absolutely. Let's go. You got 4 guys, get out there and start pushing that deck gang. Hey, you know how to read that erection drawing? You bet I do. All right, let's put a pick list together and get some guys under the hook and let's start getting some iron up in the air. Absolutely, you got it. So, and then it's being able to put those in. All right, well, I'm going to run the erection crew and I'm running the decking crew and I'm running the welding gang. And then it's working for that general foreman that's seeing, holy smokes, man, this guy's got 15 dudes hopping and he's still being productive. And it's anywhere, right? A contractor, your employer, your boss, your foreman, he sees you're doing this. All right, let's put a little more at you. And some people are going to fold. They're going to start messing stuff up, or other people are just going to keep chipping, right? Keep clawing at it. And like I said, I'm in there claws out and I'm just cat scratching. You're going to make sure I'm the last guy to be here. So, you know, as you see him just shoveling it on, and then you're learning. Right? You get thrown in the fire, you're going to learn. You're going to sink or swim. And, you know, I'm a fighter. I'm a survivor. So I'm going to just keep clawing, keep scratching. And then it was, hey, you know, I got a call. I took a week off and we went down, we're on vacation, and I get a call from a foreman and he's like, hey, man, did the boss call? And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, no, the big boss. Did he call you? And I was like, no. Oh, you're going to run this job. And I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, man, no, you've been on everyone's crew, on everyone's jobs, and put into these different capacities, and you're going to run this Shields, right? This is going to be a big job. And I'm like, holy smokes, man, I don't know. We'll see if I even want to deal with it. And of course they call, hey, you want to run that Shield Sporting Goods? And it's like, man, all right, let's do it. Let's see what's up. You know, can I pick my guys? Yeah, we'll let you get some guys. So it's a call to Kel. It's a call to my buddy Waylon. And it's like, hey, man, I'm going to run this job. What's up? You guys in? And they're like, fuck, yeah, let's go. Yeah. And it's like you got the crew and that's it, right? So you get that opportunity and it's the guys that you're working with. So to be in that leadership role, it's awesome that you've got the ability to do the work, head down, rocking and rolling. It's when you can take your head up out of the sand and make sure everybody else is on point doing their job. And when you've got guys that you know can work, right? These guys can bang. And it's like, all right, we got it. Here we go. Let's put it all together. And then you're unstoppable. You know, it's having that crew. And then those guys, you know, the contractor sees, hey, all right, this job, you guys came out here and killed it. And whether it's you in that foreman's capacity, it's the guys that you got under you. You know, and that's what people forget is no one cares how awesome you are. It's, can you delegate? Can you have other people following through with what needs to be done? Because you're not going to go out and build a building by yourself. You got to have that crew. So when you've got that ability to facilitate it and you got your crew moving, you can see those next steps ahead. And that's that opportunity to climb up. So you get out there, you get a successful job, and your contractor sees it, right? All right, cool. We hit that 10% profit margin. We're rocking and rolling. We're going to keep you around and let you do it again. Yeah. And you get out there, you get a couple of those wins. And next thing you know, it's, you know, a couple of years goes by, you're knocking out a few jobs. Things are feeling good. You got some momentum. And then it's just, hey, if you're going to continue to make that contractor money, they're seeing profit. They're going to put you on those bigger jobs. And that's how it climbed up was let's try them out here, you know, went to Newtown, North Dakota. And I'm like, holy smokes, a whole job full of travelers working in a different local. And I'm like, man, can I bring some key guys with me? Yo, what's up? And Kel was like, dude, for real, North Dakota, all right, let's go. Saddle up, we're in the truck again, and ripping across the country, and having those guys in my corner knowing, all right, these are solid guys I can lean on, can put them on any task, they're going to get the job done, they know the business. And then you're working, with just other recognized professionals of the industry, right? These guys coming over from all walks, journeyman iron workers. It's like, all right, these folks should know their role. And you get in, you don't know these people from Adam, but you put them to the job. It's like, all right, we're going to do some swapping, some changing in that leadership role, having that ability to see, all right, well, this guy's making me money here, this guy's making it happen there, and being able to move and slot people in and find it. Because, all right, everyone's a journeyman. Well, guess what? This guy might be tenfold the connector of that guy, and you put this guy under the hook, and he's moving and shaking, and he's got stuff rocking and rolling, and having that ability to see people for the value that they're bringing to the table, right? So there's value in everybody you got on that job. It's just being able to plug and play.
And that's a big thing, dude, is a lot of guys don't realize that there's not some guys, it's not that they're the wrong guy, that it's just they're in the wrong position, right? Like, you got to put people where their strong suits are. Now, that's not what I would say if you're trying to become one of those guys that's the best, like the Barbarians in this. But I'm saying, as a leader, you need to learn to recognize that it's not like, oh, I need to get rid of this asset because it's not producing for me. I need to really learn and evaluate this guy to maybe put him somewhere where I could better use his strengths, right? And that's a lot of what you're talking about in running these guys. All of these guys are going to build the building for you. It's just, oh, okay, let's make this change because you're not really working out here, but that kid is fast at, let's say, connecting. And this guy is great at vertical, but you're pretty good with climbing in the mat and tying bar underneath and so I'm going to swap you two, right? It's like a lot of that is just adjustment on the fly and paying attention. Now, from my experience, now not as a rod buster, but as a crane guy and watching and, having 10,000 foot view and in my own progression to get where I've been, you do got to pick a time to take on the things you're weak at, or you should. If you want to become excellent, if you want to become great, you need to take your weak points and focus on them, attack them head on, and make them a strength, or at least make them at par with your strengths. That way that there's not a deficit. But as a leader, you need to learn to evaluate those guys' strengths kind of on the fly. And the quicker you can do that, the more productive you are. And the more productive you are, the bigger your paycheck is, right? Or the more you're wanted. Would you agree with that?
No, absolutely. And that's it, right? It's see those key players and make it work for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, no, that you really hit the nail on the head there. That's it. And like I said, you're not coming out to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, no.
We know how to get from A to B. Let's rock and roll. Let's toss it up and let's make it happen.
I want to make this drag car come across the finish line first, and I want that $200 or that $200,000 sponsorship sticker slapped on the side when we beat the brakes off of the guys next to me. I want to be the guy that they call to come back. Like in your case, you're saying like, I want to be the last one to be laid off every time. And that's a great motivator, and that's a great goal to be driving you. But to do that, like you said, and I don't think, you did a great job talking about it, but I think you're being modest about it, is you literally did what we were talking about. You attacked your weaknesses. You got your hands dirty in this, you got your hands dirty in this, then you multitasked and put this and this on at the same time. You literally made yourself become undeniable, because once you become undeniable that I can do this, I can do that, I can be here, I can be there, but then with your drive, your work ethic, your attitude, you said you smile a lot before the show, right? All those little combinations make you that dynamic character that, like, sometimes they might not even know why. Just no, keep Brian. I like Brian. Right?
No, that's it. And it is, and it's like, oh man, and like you said, maybe it is that modesty, but it's like, dude, I just need to show up and get that 40-hour check, right? We got an option for 5 10s. Hey, pick me. It's all right. We're working 6 10s. I could use that money. Yeah. And like you said, so is moving through those ranks, coming up and having that ability. All right, being recognized. We're going to put this guy in as a foreman. Yeah. And you're doing it and you're moving, and those employers are going to see it, right? It's like, man, this guy is on fire. Here's an opportunity to sit you down and, hey, we want to give you more. Do you want to take it? All right, what's the ask? Because that's it. Nobody wants to give you more for doing less. Sure. And I think that's a key takeaway. And I get a lot of apprentices right now that want that instant gratification. Well, I want this and I want it right now. Well, sit the fuck down, man. You need to learn how to do ABC before we get to DEF. I want that. And it's like, no, it's not how this works, in this day and age. And I think that's a key thing that these guys, it's like, hey, no, right now, let's go. Journeyman pay. Give it to me.
Yeah. And while you're waiting on D, E, and F, become a master at A, B, and C.
Right.
Some of it is on you, right? There's a little bit you can do to make yourself stand out, like we've talked about on the job site. You could show up on time. You could show up looking like not hungover and smelling like booze. You could have a smile on your face. You could never be walking, always running, right? You could be, even when there's not a task for you necessarily to do, you find something to do. You don't whine about having to clean up. I could name a ton of shit, right? You pick up trash. You did just little shit that makes you stand out that much more. Because then when you go running into all of a sudden that door opens and they're like, hey, come D, E, and F, right? Like, come do these options now. At A, B, and C, you're already so good at that they don't necessarily need to see you back there again. That might be the last time that you're ever a part of A, B, and C until you're in your position where you're assigning who's A, B, C, D, E, F. Like, because you've already mastered the nonsense. So that instant gratification thing is a poison. Now, it's nice, right, in the sense that I can get on my phone and I can hit shop now or whatnot, and it will come to my door. There's even food now. Like, I've never used DoorDash, but like my sister tells me you can even order. People will bring you your food to your house now. Like, I guess that's a new concept to me, but that's the world we're in now versus like primally and going back historically, even if you will, like you got to hunt and kill to eat, right? Like that's where this all goes. And it's the same with work. Like you got to go and get it before you get fed, and closed mouths don't get fed. Like, and that's a saying for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man, that we've lost the ability to stand in the arena and take the punches and do the reps. We just want to go straight to the guy with a $2 million YouTube endorsement and a channel. And
you bet. Look at that belt buckle that says I'm the world champion.
Yeah.
What do you mean I got to ride that bull? Come on.
Yeah, dude,
I'm ready to wear the belt buckle.
It's insane.
No, it is. And like you said, right, it's that the DoorDash. And I've never DoorDashed either.
No,
and
yeah.
My oldest kid is like, oh, I just DoorDashed Dairy Queen. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Yeah. And I was like, call me cheap, but I'm not going to pay somebody to drive me. I'm not going to eat Dairy Queen, but I'm not going to pay somebody to drive it up to me either. And, it's mind boggling. It's like, what is going on right now? This is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's the world we live in, right? It's as modern advances in technology. All right here. It's instant. It's now. Oh, I'm going to order this today. I'll have it tomorrow. Yeah. Boom. I'll pay an extra $15 and it's shipped. All right. Done. I remember buying stuff from the internet. You didn't even know if you were going to get it.
For real. Yeah. You're like, I hope this is real. I remember life before the internet as well. And that's a weird thing to think about, right? Like, I remember what a world it's changed. But on that note, like, that makes room for an incredible amount of opportunity.
No, it does. It opens that door because guess what? We've still got, and I like to break it down to my apprentices. Again, we circle back first year and I let them know. And I'm like, all right, 10%, best case scenario. My top 10% are my movers and my shakers, right? So like local 732s made up 100% of the members, right? Every dues paying member is a piece of 732, but you've got this top 10% of that. And those are the guys that are, they're not all going to come out and be a superintendent or a general foreman, but those movers and shakers are the pace setters. They're going to show up. It's that guy that shows up every day, and he's there at 6:30. We're starting at 7, and he's out in the parking lot, and he's doing jumping jacks, and he's getting amped up, and he's happy to be there. He's the hype man, right? He's pumping it up. To everyone sees that foreman, he's in there, right? It's like, what time did he get here? I don't know. Must have been 6:15, 6 o'clock. He's in there. He's getting his stuff ready to rock and roll. No one's paying him to be there for that, but he's got that level of pride to make sure, hey, I'm going to be the first one in here. I'm going to open everything up. I'm going to get stuff moving, because I'm not going to come in here scrambling and look like I'm a mess, right? I'm going to be organized. I'm going to be professional, and these guys are going to respect me. So to be in that top 10%, right? And I'm like, and not everybody wants to be there, right? The rest of them are like, cool, man, I'm going to be in that 80% of the rank and file. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to get paid. This is what I'm here for. And we need that 80%, right? And then you've got your bottom 10%. They made it. I got in. I got through the apprenticeship. I'm here. I'm the best fire watch God ever hung guts in. Get out of my way, and I'm waiting for sparks to fall. Got to have them to an extent, right? There's going to be a job for you. It might not, in this market, right? It's banging. This market's crazy. Everyone's working. But let's see, things start to hit the skids, gets that bottom 10%. They're probably going to go get a part-time job doing something else, waiting for that next big shutdown, that next big turnaround, that next opportunity where that hire and haul, that list gets empty. To that 80%, all right, they're going to move. Times might get slower, right? They might get down, and they start seeing some shorter weeks. But that top 10%, those guys, they're going to be that, hey, I'm going to give you a guaranteed 40 for showing up and you being you, right? Maybe you're not that foreman, but you're that key piece. You're that motivation that's fuel the fire that we have to have on that job.
Yeah, no. And then, here's the other thing about the opportunity that gives you in this world of instant gratification. And this is especially for your first term guys that will probably listen to this. Who gives a shit what any of those other guys are doing? If they make it that easy for you to be in the top 10% of the churn, thank you. Thank you for making it easy, because now I know I'm going to be the guy that when I talk to our president or when I talk to Kel and he's, hey man, do you have any recommendations? I want to accelerate my career. Who would be a good guy? You never know. Maybe you can make a phone call to a foreman, or a general foreman, that's going to turn these guys on the accelerated path, or even more so earning it yourself. Right. I know that's a lost thing amongst people, but, you're going to go, you crush all those guys around you, then you journey out. Well, hey, what you don't realize is you're already 5 years into this. They don't look at you as just the new journeyman. They might run their mouth and say that kind of dumb shit and job box talk and, little stretch and flex. They might run their mouth. Oh, you're the new, but nobody really looks at you like that. You've earned your stripes at this point, 5 years in and coming out of the apprenticeship. So guess what? Like you're saying, in your case, on the second year, because you did it, second term, you were already running work. You were already the guy in charge of, you guessed it, even other journeymen, because that's what you put out. That's what you put into the world. So that's what you got out of this world, right? So for these new guys, especially, I just want to capitalize on this. What Brian is telling you here is absolute gold. In a world where everybody needs to be pat on the back, or they want it now. Enjoy, relish, if you will, being in the process, relish grinding. Take that experience for what it is, learn every lesson that you can in that, and crush all those people around you. Absolutely crush them, not put them down, not put them out, but just outwork anybody and everybody, and watch how fast you're the guy that we're talking to on this show that's 15 years in and an absolute legend amongst your friends and your coworkers,
And that's it. You ask, how do you get into that capacity? You push yourself. You show up every day and do work, right? It's going to get recognized. Might not be, as fast as you want it to, but when you're in and you're grinding day in and day out and you're good at it and you're making money for your contractor, you're putting money in your pocket, and that's it, right? If the contractor's not making money, you're not going to make money. That contractor's, he's around to bid another job. They're going to bring you back. And and to be able to just get in and repeat it, right? Wash and repeat, wash and repeat. And you're going through the motions, right? Then it's like, all right, cool. Where's that next bar? What are we looking for? And maybe it's another certification coming out there, or some other way to continue to make yourself more marketable. There's just so many opportunities right now that exist, and it's a small amount of people that want to do it. Oh, that looks hard. I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Roll your sleeves up, get your hands dirty, and get after it.
Yeah, dude, like I said, this show is for the people that want it. This is for the guys that want to own the company or run the company or start their, this isn't for the average. So we're not even going to touch on how just to get by, because honestly, I don't give a shit. Like it, I agree with you. There's a place for those guys that just want to clock in, clock out. You're needed. If that's you, that's great. But this is for those guys that want to win. Like, this is for those guys that want to accelerate their life and go after things bigger, which, by the way, you're needed now more than ever. Look around you in the world, and I don't care if it's at work. I don't care if it's at the school picking up your kids in the school line. I don't care if it's at a kid's sports practice. Look around you and look at where we're at. Right now, strong men and strong women, but I'm talking to the men right now. Strong men are needed. Driven human beings are needed. Passionate, capable, dedicated, grit, adverse, tenacious. I mean, the list could go on. You are needed. And if you have those right now, the world is starving to put you in those positions to where you can help people grow and create impact. And more importantly, which is going to lead right into what you do now, create change, right? Like, you got to want it though. And by the way, on this instant gratification thing, like, don't mistake doing the work or like how fast you can get there for like wanting it now. We're not saying don't aggressively go after it. We're not saying don't choose the accelerated path. We're just saying do the work without needing a fucking attaboy every time you do the right thing. Do the work without having to look over your shoulder to see if Brian or Kel or any of these other guys in a leadership role are watching you, and notice. Just do it because you know it's right and you know what needs done, and because you want to be the best. Like, period, the end. At the same time, aggressively act. We talked about the concept of 10,000 hours or 10,000 reps to level of mastery. You can do that at 40-hour-a-week chunks, or you can aggressively go after it and take 60-hour bites or 70-hour bites, right? You could go home like Kel did and do a wire and double the amount of time that you tie and how fast you are, so that you can get literally to that math. There's not one way to get to 10,000, to be clear, right?
No, that's it. It's just wanting to get there. And then as soon as you got it, you're like, all right, what's next? Right? What's next in the crosshairs? That one just went down. Boom, let's move. Where's my next target?
Yeah.
And it's having that motivation to see, all right, there's people working in these capacities. Do I want to be a part of it? Because guess what? We're not here forever. No. We need those people to want to continue driving, want to be pouncing on it, right? And it's exciting to see it, especially from my perspective, to look in and see these. I mean, like right now we're running a little over 120 apprentices, and to see these people that are just starting their apprenticeship and they don't know what to expect, to the guys and gals that are getting towards the end of it and they're like, holy smokes, I'm making it. And it was pretty cool having our last two cohorts in that are going to be journeying out this spring. And I went around the room and asked them, what's next? What's on the crosshairs, right? We about got an apprenticeship stomped out behind you. And what are you going to do? And as they're looking and they're like, oh, fuck. And a couple of them had some dynamite future goals. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. And they're like, oh man, they're seeing me get excited to see them with a goal. And even the ones that were like, fuck, I don't know, man, I can't believe I made it this far. And it's like, well, guess what? Look at what he's going to do. Come on, don't you? Oh, yeah. All right, now I'm going to start thinking about it. And if they didn't have that plan, I'm planting seeds for them, because that's where I'm at in my capacity, is to make sure that, hey, I'm gonna keep throwing some fuel on the fire. I'm gonna push you and drive you as far as I can until I don't have you coming into my training center anymore, right? But you're gonna leave here, and I hope to God that I'm gonna have a fire in your belly, and you're gonna want it, right? You're gonna get hungry. You're like, man, all right, these opportunities are out here. He's been talking about it. He's been preaching about it. He's showing us how to do it. He's showing us how to get it. Let's go. Let's lace up
And
the boots.
hopefully
And
you're
let's put
smart
in the
enough to
work.
use you as a resource,
Right.
you know? So let's talk about that. So you did the superintendent, you did the general foreman, you did foreman, you know, you climbed all the way up that ladder. And, you know, I didn't know you before this show. This is just for our audience, right? Like, it's not like I know Brian. I just, you know, real recognizes real. You remind me of the guy that's never satisfied. And not in a negative way, but like in a, okay, cool. That was the top of this summit, but now what? Right? Like, and I say that respectfully because I'm the same way. Like, why do I want out of the field? Why do I want, because in the Northwest anyway, it's not like down south where there's a bunch of crane superintendents or different things like that. There's rare capacities of that here, but it's who you know, right? They're just not the same thing. There's more refineries, different types of work. I'm just trying to more give our audience context here, but because you live out this way, you understand how it works. But
Oh yeah.
but it's like, okay, cool. This was fun. It was cool running different cranes, being at different heights, running different capacity of cranes or size and crawler cranes and big ATs. And sure, I could go back into that and become even better at that or try to chase that and fall. But it's like, where can I really do the most impact? Where can I really help more people? That's where I'm at, right? So talk about what it was like for you because that's just what you come across, like that same kind of character, that this was fun, but
And right. No, and that's it. And it was like I said, what pushed me into becoming into that instructor roles. I was seeing the product.
yeah,
And I'm like, this sucks. No, hell no. Right. I make a contribution, or my contractor makes a contribution for every hour I work that's paying for this program. And this is what we're getting out of it. And like I said, nope. All right. I'm going to shut up or show up. So come in and start teaching a class and bring those dynamics into the classroom to be able to facilitate that to the up and comers.
right.
And through that, it was, all right, here's what we want to do. This is the goal. This is how we're going to get that across. Right. So moving into, even into the capacity I'm in now as the president and the training coordinator, when I got that call and, you know, our business agent at that time was like, hey man, I'm going to run and be the business manager. And I want to nominate you to be the president. And with that, take over the apprenticeship. So I'm going to give you the presidency and, or you're going to run for it and then take over as the training coordinator. And I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. And he was like, seriously, think about it. So, you know, he planted that seed and he takes off. A couple weeks go by and he's like, hey man, did you put some thought into it? I was like, so that's all I've been thinking about is that, and I don't know if I'm the guy. I don't know if that's for me. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, just think about it. I don't understand the dynamics of either of those two capacities. Yeah, you do. I'm seeing what you're doing as an instructor, coming in part-time instructing with those apprentices. I can only imagine if I gave you the full realm of the entire apprenticeship, the direction that you're going to take it. And I'm like, oh man. And when you've got somebody that tells you that and believes in you more than, you know, it's like, cool, man. On the outside, I'm a rock. I'm not going to show anybody that I'm sweating bullets. My heart's beating 1,000,000 miles an hour and my hands are trembling. It's like, I'm going to stand here. I'm going to take some breaths and I'm going to walk in and I'm going to own it. And whether I know what I'm going to do or not, I'm not going to let anybody else know that until it's like, holy smokes. All right, man, we're just going to keep clawing and scratching. And so he's planted that seed with me and I'm thinking, fuck, man, I don't know. Like a month goes by and he's like, hey, where are we at? What are we doing? And I'm like, dude, I don't know if it's me. And he's like, all right, cool then. He's like, give me a list of names of who you think it should be. And I was like, what? And he's like, get them to me. He's like, think about it. think about these other people that you would rather see in that capacity than yourself, and let's talk about it. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I could do that. And then I'm thinking, and I'm like, fuck, who am I gonna who do you pick to put in there? I'm looking at a couple of guys, and it's easy to say, all right, well, here's his fault, or there's their fault, or here's their weak point. And I'm looking at myself, and I was like, man, do I fit the bill in some of these capacities? Like, all right, I'm a little bit better here, and I could be better there. And all right, I got this is a flaw, but I could totally change the way I'm doing it. And next thing I know, he's like, so what do you got for some names? And I'm like, fuck it, man, I'm all in, let's go. And he's like, that's what I'm talking about. And it was just planting those seeds and having him believe that I could do it. And it's like, all right, here's that opportunity, let's roll. I'm going to put my name in the hat, I'm going to accept that nomination, and I'm going to run for this office.
Yeah.
And here we are, right? So we had just gotten through our second election. So I did it for 3 years, went through, and he's like, all right, man, I'm going to nominate you again. What's up? You still in? And I'm like, dude, 3 years time, we're just getting started. Let's roll. This job could be monotonous and miserable at times, but there's that bit of thanklessness, right? Whether it's helping show somebody or promoting our program or our organization, and getting our name out there. It's like, all right, this is what I'm doing it for, right? I help one kid from a bad background that now is in a pathway to a career, to a life-changing opportunity, to having a pension, having an annuity, having health and welfare, knowing how his wage progression is going to climb for the next few years. And he's like, you just plant an opportunity in front of him. It's like, I didn't do anything for you. I just exposed it to you. It's up to you to make something with it. And being able to be in that capacity to give that opportunity to people, it's like, all right, that's why I'm doing this.
How cool is that, dude? So you learned, when people talk about power, I feel like these days it's got such a negative context because everybody's so scared. But yielding power in the right way is such an incredible place to be, an ability. Like until I got into the role of like the city councilor thing, I never really understood this. Like I always kind of looked at it as kind of, yeah, But now I'm understanding that this is, audience, please listen very closely. And I think, Brian, I really think you'll appreciate this, that there's influence and then there's power. And being in a position of influence can generate income. It can influence some changes, or it can maybe mold a little bit of culture. But I used to think of influence and power as one and the same, but they just coexist. And they're almost symbiotic, but they're separate, because power can change culture. Power can implement change, whereas influence can only mold or shape or move or suggest. Power can dictate, or, and I don't mean this in the scary political sense. I just mean like legitimately for what, like, get yourself into a position of power, and those very things that you don't like, you can now, I'm not saying you could go in and change this, but you can, right? Because you're in that position to have the conversations with the people and make a directive towards the people of what you want change and set a new expectation. Now, when you do that, you better fucking live the life that you're preaching. You better talk the talk and walk the walk. However, there is a huge difference between yielding power and yielding influence. And I think that as you grow in this game, especially if you're the progressive type and not politically, but like progressive and like, I want more out of my life. Like you said, we all have expiration dates. We're very short-sighted in the long game. But what do I want out of that? Do I want to be the guy that just existed and never really experienced? Or, I'm a very ambitious person. I have big dreams. Like, I know when I look up while we're working, I see that private jet flying. I know that some of those guys are going to Vegas to have steak. I know that some of those guys got their wife and their kids and they're going on vacation, and they don't have a thing to worry about recession. They don't have to worry about what happens in between jobs. Like, they're good. Like, I know that exists. So why wouldn't I want to pursue more? And more importantly, why wouldn't I want other people to be aware that that exists? And this is like the impact part of me speaking, right? Like, I want to look around and have all of us talk about dreams, but all of us achieve those dreams. Like, I want my circle to all win, and I want them to win at scale. Like, we were all joking about new trucks or something. Like, cool, dude. I can't wait to be sitting in the parking lot when we're all driving new trucks. You know what I mean? And when you're telling me you bought that ranch that you've always wanted because you worked for it and you learned how to make yourself the most valuable player. And more importantly, I want to see you go teach that to my kids and these other kids that are coming up in the system, because if anybody needs to believe, it's them.
Yeah, no, and that's it, right? It's having that as your circle, right? It's everybody who's wanting to lift each other up. It's like,
Yes.
oh, this is what I want for me. This is what I want for you.
Yeah.
And to be able to push each other, right? Because that's what's fueling the fire. That's what's feeding it. And it's having that tight knit circle that this is our crew and this is what we're here to do, right?
Yeah.
And it's to do work. And what's the light at the end of that tunnel? What do I want to have? It's that, all right, man, I want to have a comfortable lifestyle. I want to have nice things. I want to take nice vacations. I want to be able to spoil my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
And from the sweat of my brow and the aches in my back, that's how I know how I'm going to achieve it. Is I was raised, when I was a kid, my dad's like, oh, you want something? There's the lawnmower. Go find someone's grass to cut, because you ain't paying you to cut my grass. You're just going to do that. That's just what it takes for you to exist. You want to come and get some food out of my fridge? You're going to go cut the grass. You're going to go shovel the sidewalks. You want to make some money? All right, I'll put you in someone's yard and you're going to go cut their grass, right? You're going to sand their floors. You're going to paint their deck, whatever it is. I'm going to put you there and give you that opportunity, but you're going to do it. You got to do that work. So to be able to just say, all right, this is how it is, how we're going to get from A to B, how we're going to get from driving this broke down Civic to this Audi, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I want that life of luxury. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want it? How the fuck
And if
are you
they
gonna
say
get
they
it?
don't, they're lying. They're full of shit. You do want nice things.
Everybody wants nice things, right? It's just, oh man, I don't know, this piece of shit job I got, I'm probably never going to get it. Well, then fucking get a different job.
Yeah.
Right?
And quit talking to yourself like that, because as long as you're putting that out there, that's all you're going to get out. Stop
That's
talking
it, right?
in I can't, and stop talking in I will.
All right, or this is my plan. Let's get it. How do I get it? What do I want? Put something out in front of you. Give yourself a goal. Because guess what? Whatever it is, it's probably going to be attainable.
Yeah.
And then you got that and you're like, all right, cool. Is that going to build some momentum? Now I'm going to be unstoppable. All right, what's that next goal? What's that next goal? Where's the end goal? Is there an end goal? If you were to ask me, all right, what's my end goal? I'm going to give you a deer in the headlights. I don't have a clue. Right now I'm like, oh dang, I got a couple different directions that, there's opportunities working in this capacity. And it's like, there's some stuff in the crosshairs and it's like, man, is that the direction I go? Here's the corridor, dip your toes in the water. I'm dipping it right now. My foot's in, I'm swirling that thing around and I'm like, all right, so here we go. Is this the next move that I'm going to make? And figure out how to get into those other capacities that exist, because president of the local, all right, yeah, this is legit. Let's get through this. Let's make some changes. Let's do what we need to do for our members. And where am I going to go next? Because I'm not going to stay here. And that's a guarantee.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. I'm excited to see where you go, to be honest with you. 'Cause I'm excited to hear your story and follow along. But perfect transition of points here. So but let me back up. What do you think about that thought I was saying about the power and influence? Would you agree with that they're symbiotic, but they are two separate things?
They really are. And having that ability to wield the axe and make changes. It's like, we're going to do this. I'm going to set it. Absolutely. Having that ability to know you've got power and you've got something behind you with some weight and with some credential to do it, versus I'm going to get out here and make this sound good. And there you go. Right.
And maybe they'll adapt
and make
that.
it your own. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe we can get a couple of people to come in on it, versus saying, no, absolutely not. We're gonna make this change. This is how we're gonna do it, and putting those words to action.
Yeah, I look at influences like, hey, what do you think if we did it like this? And like, hey guys, and you get a couple guys and all, hey, we were thinking maybe we could do it like this. And the power would be like, this is the game plan. Like, hey, actually, we're going to implement this, this, and this. This is the change. It's influence is suggestive, power is absolute. You know what I mean? Like, it's directive, and that's why I think you're not you, but people are silly to get so held up on like quit worrying about like power. Oh, the people you're worried about judging you for that very thing are irrelevant anyway in the long game of what you're trying to do. If you're worried that that person's not going to understand that the reason you want to be in a position of power, assuming it's not self-serving, is to make these changes, to implement this and that, then all the people around you are going to want that for you too. I just met you. I want to see you win. What did I just say when you said, I promise you this isn't the end? I just said, I bet it's not. And I'm excited to, like, that's not a fake reaction because I'm talking to you and you can see me on a computer. I don't know you from Adam. That's like a legit, like, fuck yeah, dude. I want to see what you do next. Right. Like those people that don't, like the people that are going to be like, oh, listen to him. Look at it. He's getting almighty on. Guess what, dude? You're probably a fucking loser. And you probably need to look in the mirror and correct something in the mirror where you can still, it's not too late. You can make the changes, but you probably need to address something with yourself so that you aren't being downplaying other people or being that negative influence or that negative voice. Because if you're in my circle and you're a negative voice now, snip, 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 dude. You talk about wire snips. I'll cut that wire right now. I don't want that shit anywhere near me. It's toxic, you know?
Yeah, nope, and that's it, right? And it's having that circle and the people believing you. Like in this capacity as the president, when you're seeing the body, right? Our members are behind, and they're like, "Man, we didn't know this dude." And I knew a small amount of the membership of this local.
Sure.
You know, it was a tiny handful, and they were like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm just a dude, and I want to see some fucking changes." And everyone's like, yeah, we want to see some changes too. And can we have those changes? Get me in that capacity and let's find out.
That's it.
And now they're like, fuck, man, we should have got this guy in here sooner. And that's awesome. And I'm hoping that that's contagious, because I'm hoping that it's like, man, when I came into here and this is what we needed to do and rock and roll and liven this organization up, hopefully that fire stays in it. And the next person, it's like, dude, guess what, man? When I got here, the bar was here. I put it to here, and you need to get that up, because there's no going back. You don't get to bring the bar back down ever.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, just to keep this conversation rolling, because we could hit this head on the nail. Like we think the same on this, but so, and I'll just use me as an example, right? Because I preferenced it earlier with like, I'm actually in the position of like looking at this myself. How would you suggest guys that are go-getters or guys that are considering it? What would you say, or what advice do you have for those kind of people that are maybe looking at putting themselves not in a position of power, but like making that jump to like take the next step in leadership, to get involved more, say within their local or just a bigger portion of the pie?
So really I think the question that I would ask him is, why do you want to do it? And what are you looking to contribute? What are you going to bring to the table? Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, I'm just coming in to be a well-motivated individual and teach me how to do it. All right, that's what we're looking for. I don't need you to come in knowing how to do it.
Sure.
Right? It's just saying, I'm willing and I'm ready, and finding those people who are, and that's the question you got to ask is, why do you want to do it? Because a lot of these capacities are pretty thankless. It's like, all right, I'm going to do it, and it's a labor of love, or, whatever. It really is. It's that ask, why? Why do you want to do it? Because the last thing you want to see is to start to invest in somebody and they're like, fuck, I got bored. All right, I'm out. Or they get in and they're like, holy smokes, this isn't for me. Get out quick. before you've wasted a bunch of time and resources. So it's having that idea of, all right, I want to do it, and what's the goal through it? What are we looking to cross? You know, is there a finish line, or are you just looking to be able to get onto that next pedestal? Because, and if that's it, absolutely, right? Let's use these capacities as a stepping stool, because the sky is the limit, right? There are so many other opportunities that exist, and it's like, I need to be in here and I need to learn how to understand this side of the industry to be able to advance. Absolutely, right? There's that place. You need that, right? You've got to find that reason as to why we're doing it. It's like, fuck, I just want to get out of the weather. Winters suck. Yeah, winters fucking suck, but suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah. Because when you think you're going to come in here and, all right, yeah, fuck, it's cold out, turn the thermostat up, right? We're going to keep that climate control at 68 and be comfortable. I'm going to get work out of you. I'm going to make you work. So it ain't coming in and feet up doing chair spins, right? Letting our hair blow in the wind.
Yeah. So and I think that comfort is a killer too, dude. Like, we can't forget that. Comfort, it is. It will kill you.
Yeah. No, it really will, right? So it's saying, all right, man, how are we going to be in here and stay salty? You know, you got to stay rigid, and it's figuring that out.
And what's that been like for you? You obviously you enjoy it. You're doing it again, and you have bigger aspirations now. Like, things probably you didn't even realize you did until you stepped into this capacity and kind of. By the way, guys, to get into the next room, I'm just going to speak in. I follow Andy Frisella. He's the owner of First Form. He's a serial entrepreneur, self-made billionaire, incredible dude. But he talks about there being levels in rooms, right? Like, that these people operate in, and sometimes you got to do something that may be uncomfortable, that may be kind of frowned, or like, you know, like in this case, when you go to the hall, a lot of people in the field like to talk shit. Like, oh, you're going to the hall? That doesn't even make sense. You're not going to make as much money. You're not going to blah, 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 blah. All the things you heard too. But then you get into that room and then you get a look and you're like, holy hell, this is a whole different thing. Like I said, you're learning power and influence, and that there's differences and this and that. And then you get into a position in that room that's respected and that has the gaffle or the axe, as you said, that can swing the axe. And then you realize, like, that, yeah, you're in a level where you can cut the tree down and tell it what to be made. But then you realize that there's a level, like through another door, where the guy gets to say which trees get cut down and what plot of land they are coming out of, right? Like, so you get all these. To get there, though, you got to make that first step. And then you'll realize that there's a bigger world, like way bigger than what you know as working with your hands. And I'm a knuckle dragger just like you, Brian. Like, mad respect, but you got to want more.
That's it too. And understanding that there is more to be had, right? Yeah. It's like, I started this apprenticeship with having health insurance. Cool. I worked 360 hours. I got fucking health insurance. It was like, boom, that was easy. You know, let alone the starting wage when I was an apprentice was $13.62 an hour. And I was like, holy shit, what am I going to do with all that money? Yeah. And now a starting apprentice is $24.36, you know, plus a pension, plus an annuity, plus health and welfare. These kids ain't they're not even going to shake the sheets off of them for, you know, less than $14 an hour. And I don't blame them. Why would you? I'm not going to settle for it. This is what you want me to do. All right, cool. And to get there and get through that apprenticeship and hit that journeyman level. And I just love to tell every one of my classes, guys, it's minimum wage. Yeah. Everywhere I go, that's minimum wage. You can't get paid less than that. Is that what you want, is fucking minimum wage? And they're like, oh, I never thought about it like that. Well, that's what it is, right? Black and white. That's the least. I can't ever get less. I'm going to come in, do my work, get minimum wage. Fuck no, I ain't working for minimum wage. I've never worked for minimum wage. Get out of town. That ain't going to happen. And if I see, all right, well, this is out there and I can operate in this capacity, or I can get into that room with these people. And that was kind of a crazy thing for me, coming in and just doing what I'm doing, changing our local, building our apprenticeship up and moving and shaking things, and then getting to network, right? Yeah. With everybody else doing the exact same thing in the rest of the country. every state in this country, in Canada, they've got an ironworking apprenticeship. And having the opportunity to get in and network with these folks, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we heard about what you're doing in Montana," and I was like, "What? You heard about what I'm doing in Montana? Yeah, man. Hey, hats off. That's rad." And it's like, holy shit, man, you're like 5 states away, and
Yeah,
and you know what we're doing? It's like, whoa, that speaks volumes,
yeah,
and it's crazy to think that you're getting recognition, you're not even asking for it. People are seeing what we're in here doing, and I'm building a great team around us, and we're going to go out and get the recognition we're not asking for, right? We came in here with a job to do. We're rolling our sleeves up and getting after it, and we're building the best apprenticeship that we've got the ability to do, and it's to be able to get out there and sell, or we're going to provide what we're selling. It's that well-trained workforce. It's these certified, qualified individuals to be able to come out and hang and bang, and to get recognized from the rest of the country. We should be doing the same thing, right? That's it. That's the motto of the apprenticeship, is to build this well-trained workforce, right? We want this well-oiled machine. Come out, hands down, no questions asked. All right, the crane shows up on the job. We're going to stick that thing together. We're going to get it off the ground. We're going to unload these trucks. And we're going to hang a building. It's all right. Is everyone operating at their maximum capacities, their fullest potential to get out and get this done? Well, if that was the case, no job would be a loser, right?
yeah.
So it's picking that slack up. And
then also, dude, that's where, like you were saying, they were like, "Hey, we heard about what you do." That's also where they say, "Hey, why don't you pull up a chair?" Right?
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
And maybe that starts with being a keynote speaker, or, "Hey, what do you think? We need somebody to be in this commission." I mean, you want to talk about really getting a change, like that will open the door to all sorts of worlds that you don't even realize when you're in the field exist. Like at all, don't know that there's a realm there. And then, like, your network is your net worth. Let's just be real, because at your end game, whatever that might be, Brian, everything you're doing now is certainly making that a golden nugget versus a piece of silver, right? Like, because somewhere, somehow, this will all come back because you're serving at such a capacity. This is just, by the way, the rules of the world. Give, and eventually you'll get. And man, what an incredible mindset you have. Thank you for sharing that, because I really appreciate hearing that from somebody in a leadership role, especially just because I think it's easy to get lost in the wash of just all the bullshit that you're seeing and fed up. But it's really cool. This is what I love about doing this show. I get to talk to absolute killers, like guys that just go out and get it. So mad respect to you on that. What do you think about hitting some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. I got to hit you with the stickler. This is the show question, right? This is the staple. Okay. What is a blue collar barbarian to you?
So, and I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, right? And it's like, man, everybody in the building trades, right? There's some animalistic instinct to them, right? It's like, all right, you're gritty in some capacity, but to actually bear it and be like, all right, I'm the blue collar barbarian. It is knowing I'm going to show up and execute every day, right? We're not machines, but to get in and to give it your all. And like I said, it's being able to say, I want to be in that top 10%. I want to be a mover and a shaker, right? And then on some level, it's that guy in the job shack that says, break's over, right? It's been 15 minutes. Let's go. Let's get up. I don't need the fucking foreman to look at me and be like, hey guys, come on, let's tap on the watch here. Lunch is over. Let's get back out there. Every motherfucker knows what time break is. It's the guy that knows, hey, all right, break's over. Let's get up and go. It doesn't have to be that foreman, right? It's just that one guy in the shack that's going to get up and be like, fuck, all right, we're on. Let's go. He knows that when you show up to work at 7 o'clock, it's fucking tools on. You're out the door at 7. You're not fucking racing into the parking lot with fucking trying to get your boot on at 6:56. At 6:56, motherfucker, you're 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. I'm not saying you got to be there every single day, 30, 40 minutes early, you're going to be there 20 minutes early and you're going to feel like you're late. Fuck, I only got 20 minutes. Whatever my mindset is to get ready to get into that mode, to come in and be able to motivate my guys, right? It's getting in there and being that person that's going to say, man, this guy's got a great attitude every day when he shows up to work, right? Your world could be falling around at home. And guess what? You need to get to fucking work and you need to get paid. You're going to show up and do whatever the fuck it takes from 7 to 5:30. And that's who you are every single day. You're going to go back home and then your family's your family, right? We're not going, oh my God, I fucking work sucked so bad today. It was so miserable, right? Come in, touch on it, but we're going to have our family time. And then it's going to get up, boom, 5 o'clock next morning, game on, let's roll. Same thing, the work week's the work week. It's knowing, all right, I'm going to get there. I've got that mindset to be able to come in and just execute every day to the best of your abilities, right? And yesterday you might have had a better day than you got today, but it doesn't mean that tomorrow you're not going to come back in and pick up that little bit of slack, right? And just continue to raise that bar. I'm not saying you got to put it up on a whole nother peg, but you're going to continue and just be a little bit better than you were yesterday. And it might not be on the physicality that you brought to work, right? But you're going to come in and you're going to know how to do whatever you did the day before, just a little bit better, right? I can be a little bit cleaner. I can be a little bit quicker. I can execute a little more efficiently. It's that little bit and just saying, man, all right, my knife's getting dull. Let's get that thing back on the stone and sharpen it up.
Yeah.
And that's where it's at, right? It's being in that capacity to just say, I'm just going to come in and this is my job for the day. I'm going to come in and execute. I'm going to kill it. And then tomorrow, when the sun comes back up, boom, how do I be a little bit better, right? So that's that blue collar barbarian to the fullest, is just saying, I'm going to come in and be a little bit better than I was yesterday.
And give it 100% every day. I'm going to run at it, not walk, right? Incredible. Moving right along, brother. What is a leadership trait that needs to be addressed and improved? I intentionally asked you this because you're in the capacity that you are, right? And the capacities, the titles that you've held. And I think this is a good thing for people to take to accountability. You need to execute at the level before the title, right? So what's a leadership trait you think, with that in mind, and from your perspective currently, not as somebody that was in the field once upon a time, but from your mindset now, today, what's a leadership trait that we need to be better at?
And I think that it is that accountability piece on, all right, I need you to do this. And all right, you're going to get in there and you're going to delegate. And you're not going to lead by example. And I think that piece to it is saying, all right, this is how I'm going to get out here and do it. And I'm going to show you, so I think that there's that piece of the pie that's missing of the lead by example. It's rolling my sleeves up. I don't care if I'm the superintendent. If we got to get out here and we got to shovel snow off of this deck to keep it moving, I'm going to be right out there side by side, setting the pace while we're doing it. And I think that somewhere along the line, that's kind of getting left behind. Those guys want that role, they want that capacity, but they kind of step back like, oh, I don't do that anymore. You know what I mean? Or I think that comes into that little bit of accountability and hey man, this is what I want you to do. And I'm going to grab that rotohammer and drill those holes right side by side with you. I don't care if you think that's an apprentice job. Guess what? It still pays the same. So it really is, I think it's that lead by example.
No, incredible. And then on the other flip side of that, what is 3 things tradesmen could do to be more dynamic for leadership opportunities or promotion?
So I think that it is making yourself more marketable. That's the first one, right? Yeah. Show up. Oh, the hall's offering a class. Is that thing expired? Whatever. How can I be more marketable? Because that's your goal, right? Your individual as a journeyman worker in whatever the industry is, you need to make yourself marketable so that contractor wants you. So when you've got that laundry list of qualifications and certifications, you're looking back on it and you're like, all right, cool. I check all those boxes. I've got that criteria. That gives you the ability to step into that next capacity. Boom, a foreman call just came across the line. You bet I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it because I want $3 more an hour. I'm going to take it because I've got the ability to get in there and do that job, right? So as soon as you're marketable, then you're already looking to level up.
Yeah.
And I think that the next thing is going to be coming in with that attitude, right? You've got to have that attitude that people want to have you on their job, right?
Yeah,
I don't give
100%.
a fuck if it's raining. Yeah, guess what? We're all going to get fucking wet. Let's go out there. I don't need to fucking hear you crying about it. That bad attitude is, it's a virus. Yo, you got Eeyore shows up in the shack and you're like, motherfuck, that rain cloud's on you, dude. It ain't getting anybody else, right? So having that attitude like, fuck, all right, we're all here. Misery loves company. Let's get it. Let's get this done.
Yeah. Singing in the storm.
Dude, that's it. Yeah. We all know what the task is. We know where the end goal is. All right, it's 7:00. Come on, 5:30. Let's get there. So having that attitude, right? So we've got that. We're marketable. We've got a good attitude, and then that it's that reliability. Yeah. That is this day and age. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Everyone's got a fucking reason. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. This popped up. Get the fuck out of town. Be reliable. Yeah. That and it's so easy. Those are all such 3 easy things. All right, the attitude. I get it. Life happens, right? Sure. Sometimes it's just fucking hard to have a good attitude. But for the lion's share of the time, have a good fucking attitude. Make yourself marketable and fucking be reliable. It's easy. And just do it day in and day out.
Yeah. No, I couldn't have said it better myself. Reliable. You're the first person to say that in a leadership capacity. But God, you want to talk about missing, you're right. Like, no more excuses. Just where you say you're going to be somewhere, be there. And be there at the time that you're told to be there. Be somebody I know. Like, no matter what is going on, you're the last thing I'm worried about, whether you're going to show up today. I already know I can send you on this task, and I'm not going to have to put somebody else on it because every day, day in and day out, you're 25 minutes early. I should be worried if I don't see you in the parking lot half an hour before shift starts. I should be like, did he get in a car wreck? That's not like him. Something must be. It should be like my last thought. You should be an automatic. I know I can count on that guy. Like, I know.
Holy shit, you got a flat tire and you're only 10 minutes early?
Yeah, for real.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. Oh, man, I come racing in 10 minutes before the start time with a flat tire.
Yeah. Like, hey, by the way, next time just call me, dude. I appreciate that you're here, though. Right?
Right.
Moving right along, my final question for you, dude, and I think you'll appreciate this one. Just what is your favorite part about being the president?
So I think it is that seeing our members want to support me in this capacity, because I came into this thing and it was like, what the fuck am I looking to get out of it? I didn't even know. And all I knew was I needed to be in that chair.
Sure.
And it was like, all right, that's the goal. And then looking around and seeing our body want me to be in this capacity. And they're like, yeah, and they support me. And they believe that I've got their best interest at heart. It's crazy. It's awesome. It really is, knowing they want me to be there. It's like, man, we're all a little bit self-conscious.
Sure.
And when you see, those folks behind you, those men and women, and you're like, man, all right, it's legit. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I'm not there yet, but who knows? You may have just inspired me to see what comes from trainer to who knows, right? Like,
yeah.
Working up the ranks. Well, listen, dude, I appreciate your story and your wisdom and your insight. This has been an incredible conversation, and I I'm so glad that Kel introduced us, and I just can't tell you how grateful I am for your time tonight. This is the closing part of the show. This is the closing thoughts part, and what I like to do is try to leave our guests with a book recommendation or a quote or just something to keep. You mentioned it earlier, keeping that knife sharp, like on the mental side of things. Do you have a quote or a book suggestion or anything that really spoke to you in your journey?
So I got a couple actually, and
Nice.
the Mark Breslin Survival of the Fittest. Have you read that?
I have not.
It has been around. The first time I read it was like 2006, and I actually got it on an audiobook on a cassette, and I played it, and I was like, "What is this?" And then I got the book and read the book, and I've read that book like 3 times now,
Yeah.
and it is so powerful. It's motivating. I mean, it makes you want to change the world right now. And the one I just finished up was Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was
don't
a
know
good
if
one.
you've, yeah, right. It's like gives you that ability to look in from the outside and see, all right, where are these faults at? You want to it's so easy to blame everybody else around you. Oh, well, we didn't fucking meet these deadlines because he dropped the ball or they didn't do this. And it's like, fucking look in the mirror, man. Take
Yeah.
that accountability and see what could you have changed to make sure that this was executed effectively and efficiently,
Yeah.
So and that was one of the last books that I just read, and it was pretty powerful stuff. But yeah, nope, I think you got to check out that Mark Breslin Survival of the Fittest, right? It's
Yeah.
just the name alone. It's like, all right, yeah, I can get down
Yeah.
with this.
For sure. Um, I got one for you. I don't know if you may have read it already, but have you read? I actually just sent this to Kel because it spoke so much to me. But The Magic of Thinking Big,
No,
incredible book, incredible book. Dr. David J. Schwartz. I'll probably send you it as well, since you haven't read it. Incredible book. And then Andy Frisella, he just released a new book. It's called The Book on Mental Toughness, and it literally just came out. I just finished it yesterday, ironically, because I just couldn't put it down. And it talks about 75 Hard in that program, but before that, it gets into case studies on guys' habits, like the successful habits, and about how mental toughness is the derivative of everything in your life. Both of those books, with Magic of Thinking Big and the Book on Mental Toughness, both of them spoke volumes to me on my journey, and have reading has been a new thing for me over the last 2 years now. I read 32 books this last year, and I'm excited to do it again this year because I just a sponge right now to just different thought processes, different mindsets, just whatever I can do to keep my wheels spinning on, and as I progress as a human, right? So thank you for sharing those, because I really wanted our audience to be able to to take something extra from this. Not that, dude, this whole thing was loaded with nuggets. I'm excited to re-listen to this later just to get myself hyped about going after what's next. So,
yeah, no, and I always like to tell my apprentices, hey, man, come on, guys. I know what you're thinking. Reading's for rich people, but we're gonna get in there. We're gonna crack some books, and we're gonna put some letters together, make some words, turn those words into sentences.
yeah,
And yeah, it's funny because it was coming into this capacity that it was like, all right, I should probably read some fucking books. and yeah, really, it's crazy, and there's so much motivation. It's like, holy smokes, man. And it doesn't take a lot of time to
it's
be able to
10
pick up a
pages a
book.
day, guys. 10 pages a day. Just read that. You'll be amazed. You take a book, 300 pages, 30 days, a month, boom, big book's done, 24 days. But I bet you as you go, you'll realize that becomes faster and faster. Might start out as an hour to read 10 pages, will become 15 minutes in a matter of, no time. You just get better every time you do it.
And then when you're trying to stop at 10 pages,
Yeah, I know. That's my problem now. I don't. I read a chapter, or I'll read 20 or 25 pages, probably typically. But
you
anyway,
got
Brian,
time
I
to
want
get
to
on
let you get
Instagram and scroll it out. You got time to pick up some pages.
that, dude. So you want to talk about allocation of time is another thing. This is a freebie for you guys. If you can learn to really allocate your time and use this little thing, this phone, for good, and to use it to learn or to educate or to push yourself up, like you don't realize how much fucking time you have until you put this on vibrate and put it away from you. Like, put it away. Quit scrolling, and like, unless it's to make you money. Seriously, unless it's going to make you money, put it off to the side for a little bit. And think about the sacrifice of time here too, right? Like, what's 5 years?
Right.
It ain't shit. So put your phone
No.
down for a year and invest that in growing for just a year. It will go by in a blink of an eye. But I'll digress. I want to let you get with your family, dude. We've been recording for an hour and 30 minutes. I really appreciate your time. Brian Rigby, this has been fun. I will definitely have you back on to dig into more of the political stuff, especially as I get into this arena myself. Hopefully the next time we talk, I'll tell you, hey, I'm a trainer now, dude. What the fuck?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Footsteps. So to our audience, thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate you. Brian has been a wealth of knowledge. And if you need to do anything, if I can make one suggestion, it's go back, especially if you're one of his apprentices or one of Kel's apprentices looking to this, go back, bring your journal, take a pen, and take some notes. Like, seriously, just take a couple notes on little things, whether it be the attitude portion, whether it be aggressive action. I mean, there was literally gold in this episode everywhere for you to grow. So please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for listening. Send this to somebody that needs a kick in the ass, and let's change the community. Let's change the world, guys. Until next time.